That and how beautiful the game is. BDO is
The game. We like how beautiful the game is. Certain aspects of the game are really, really good. We love how beautiful the game looks. Anyone that's looking at the elephant right now is a freak. All right, mid-year update on the most played MMOs in our genre. Okay, this is Lucky Ghost. We love watching Lucky Ghost videos. He's really good.
back. It's Lucky here, and it's that time
With the Aspen one or the original? Well, which one's shorter? Who am I kidding? The original.
of the year where we look at the MMO genre and go over the most played MMOs
Aspen's is shorter?
right now. A lot has changed since the last time I made this video.
Just give me the original. I'll take a look at it.
We've seen some MMOs move way up on the list and some move way down. This video is strictly by the numbers, which means I'm not ranking them by quality, simply by active player base size. Which MMO
Where do you guys think that BDO is on this list? Do you think that BDO has gained player base or lost player base comparatively to the other MMOs since the start of the year?
are dying? Which MMOs are thriving? Let's find out. Number 15, New World.
I would say that we're probably down. New World is, wow, New World's, oof.
Playable on PC and soon to come to console.
I don't know. It's tough to say. If you take the whole 6 months, right, we're probably collectively up. Because in December, we were kind of struggling. You guys remember? In like November, December, that was like the first UN podcast, somewhere in there. Like we were really struggling. So we're probably up. You know what I mean?
So this survey is coming at a bad time for New World. It's currently experiencing its worst month in its history, but it hasn't come out of nowhere. The game has been bleeding players for some time now, sliding
Really?
another 4 spots from number 11 on this list.
4 spots? What the? Yo, I'm going to move my camera up so you guys can see what it, like that. Oh my God.
To number 15 in the last 6 months alone, and presently averaging just 4,800 players on Steam. Just 6 months ago, it was at
God damn it. Then I'm blocking the graph too. I'll just go up here. I'm just going to go up here, guys.
19,000 concurrent players on Steam. What happened? Well, New World is currently making a not so smooth transition to console at the moment. It seems that the focus on bringing
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay, so I didn't actually end up doing the sponsorship because I got ill. But Amazon Games did reach out to me and want me to talk about New World going to console. And I spoke with them, and I didn't sign any contracts, so we're good. I spoke with them, and I was like, yo, to be clear, you don't have New World listed as an MMO here. You just have it listed as an RPG. Is this intentional? And they were like, yeah, it's intentional. And I was like, holy shit. They're trying to appeal more to the console players. They're not even advertising it as an MMO anymore. At least on console, it's not even, it's being advertised as basically a brand new game. Like all new game, all new world, all new everything. It doesn't surprise me that their players are leaving in droves from PC, if that is the case.
bringing the game to console has led to a massive drought in content for the experienced
I'll look at
players
it.
sitting at the end game. Combine that with the fact that they're advertising it as a multiplayer action RPG instead of an MMO.
It's not, yeah, there it is.
And longtime players of the game are feeling a bit rattled. Is New World a bad game? I don't think so. As far as MMOs go, New World is one of the most fair.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it's weird that they're just moving away from it being an MMO or like saying it's in the MMO genre because it's clearly an MMO. It's not even a question, right? It's clearly an MMO, and they're just trying to move towards like an RPG. It's not like a standard RPG. It's definitely an MMO.
Barely monetized once out there, featuring very little in the way of things that could be considered pay to win. The game is buy to play with an optional battle pass. New World features a massive seamless open world for you to explore, and that's where it really shines. It shines when you're out exploring, questing, and gathering.
Is it just me, or does New World looks worse than BDO does? Why? When it came out, it seemed like it was like the same, but like everything in this shot, like look, bro, I have players everywhere. If I shift F5, okay, they're not going away, but like the world just looks better for us, and I have players all over my screen right now. Like I don't know, man. This does not look very good.
And all of the things that you stumble into along the way.
It looks overexposed, which BDO has a problem with
really
too.
Struggled when it came to group content and getting people into that content. The game features some of the best crafting progression out of any MMO. Every tree, bush, or rock can be gathered to level up your crafting and gathering. New World features the trinity of tank, healer, and DPS, and has some incredibly challenging dungeons and a mutation system for those dungeons that basically acts as a Mythic Plus system from WoW. This content can be fun, but also difficult to find groups for, especially with the current player count. As for its transition to console, well, it felt like this game was perfectly suited for that with its limited number of abilities that you can have at any given moment.
I thought if they just launched New World on console, it would probably be a hit. You know what I mean?
Like the developers,
it's definitely a lot more easy. Like, it's definitely a lot easier to make New World work on console than it is for BDO. That much I can tell you, given how the combat system
sacrificed a lot of the PC player count to get the game to console. Hopefully this is a gamble that plays off for them in the long run and they're able to bring those players back. Holding on to spot number 14, EVE Online is a dependable old MMO, released all the way back in 2003, but still being actively supported by both its developers and its fans.
New World is literally losing to EVE Online, guys. This is the universe we live in. This is
EVE Online is an MMO where your goal is to build and upgrade a powerful spaceship so that you can join up with others to vie for control of the most profitable sectors of space. EVE Online is free to play with the option to pay money to do things like access more spaceships sooner. It also has an optional sub, and this optional sub is the most expensive subscription on the list, sitting at $20 per month. As with most optional subs,
$20 a month is nothing. The optional sub for BDO is $30, isn't it?
Fans of the game will often tell you that if you intend to fully enjoy the game, the sub is not so optional. EVE Online has a fantastic character creator, but that matters very little as you'll rarely see your character. Your focus is on your ship, and it's what you'll spend most of your time controlling. In EVE Online, players form their own alliances and then battle for control of the universe. PvP in EVE Online is high stakes, as when your
maybe we all need to just go play EVE.
Ship is destroyed, it does not simply respawn. No, you must rebuild it again. The many hours, days, and months worth of materials it took to build that ship are now gone.
Never mind, I don't want to do that.
EVE Online is often called the spreadsheet simulator, as many players engage in tracking material.
I do not want to do that. I do not want to do that. Hold on, let me get my tea.
That's crazy. And costs diligently. CCP Games has finally embraced this and has added an integrated spreadsheet into the game.
I don't like losing shit when I die.
The biggest MMO, but it and its fans have kept it on the list for over 2 decades. Next up, slipping one spot, is SWTOR, or Star Wars: The Old Republic. Launched in 2011 and available on PC. BioWare has handed this game off to a new developer to keep it up and running as they move on to new projects.
Yeah, this is on like, you know, the back burner. They're not actually getting new updates as far as I'm aware anymore for this game.
This does not bode well for the future of an MMO. SWTOR launched in 2011, developed by BioWare and published by EA. This is another MMO that is now free to play with an optional sub. That optional sub will unlock a lot of things, but most importantly, it will give you access to all of the game's zones, and forever, even if you only sub for 1 month and then cancel. Veterans of the game will tell you that that's
pretty interesting. I'll do you one better. You only have to buy Black Desert Online, and then you get access to every single expansion. We win.
Exactly what you want to do if you want to fully experience SWTOR.
That's pretty good, though.
SWTOR is probably most known for its amazing class stories that immerse you in the world of Star Wars. The class stories are fully voice acted and are incredibly well fleshed out and written. Perhaps the most unique part of these stories is that your choices actually have an impact on the ending of your story, with up to 3 different endings possible for each class. This is definitely one of the cool.
SWTOR was a great game. I played SWTOR. I really liked it. I stopped playing it because there were so many bugs when it launched. Like, there were so many people playing it, but there were so many bugs with it, and all the bounty hunters were just way better than the Jedi, and I just didn't want to do it anymore.
Parts of SWTOR, hands down. Nowadays, SWTOR is largely a single-player experience, and if you've never done it before, it could be a lot of fun, particularly if you're a fan of the Star Wars universe. You'll get your Star Wars music, art, stories, and lightsabers. The game features 8 classes, split 4 and 4 between Jedi and Sith factions, with a lot of overlap between the classes on each side, almost as if one side is a near mirror image of the other side. It's not a bad game to pick up and play with a friend, as it does feature level scaling, which has
I thought that for sure that they would have more classes by now. What the hell, bro? Like, what do they do for content, man? Like, literally nothing.
Fortunately resulted in
each class has 2 specializations. You mean like Awakening and Succession?
Questing experience becoming perhaps too easy. So you'd definitely be jumping in for the story and not the challenge. The game's population has definitely been sliding over the years, albeit
that's
slowly,
pretty steady.
but now the developer has given the game away, which means its future has never been more uncertain. We'll watch this one closely moving forward. And if you're someone that enjoys MMOs, be sure to subscribe to the channel so that you're kept up to date on all the latest and greatest MMO news. Number 12, Wizard 101, released in 2008 on PC and web browsers. I didn't previously include Wizard 101 on this list, but it turns out this game has enough players to make the cut. Currently sitting at
what the? I have never seen it. What is this?
At number 12, Wizard 101 was a gateway into the MMO scene for many children around 2008 when it launched. It's still going strong today and still getting
New World is losing to this.
New updates regularly. The game lists itself as free to play, but it would be more honest to call it free to try, as you'll need a sub in order.
In fairness, we're all losing to old school RuneScape. And it hurts.
In order to access all the game's best and most relevant content. It's definitely a unique entry featuring a card collecting style of combat, but it does also include your more usual MMO staples like housing and fishing. And despite its humble beginnings, it's still sitting here comfortably holding down the number 12 spot 16 years after its
2008. Look how good the game looks. The art style is incredible. It's aged super well.
Initial release. And next up, moving up one spot from number 12 to number 11 is Albion Online. Launched in 2017 to PC, Mac, iOS, and Android. Albion Online is a fantasy sandbox MMORPG that was released 7 years ago now.
I don't even think I'm allowed to have Nikke on my screen. I might get canceled.
Now, because it is full loot, that means that you can let someone else pay to win and then kill them and take all of their gear. Fortunately, if you lose a full loot PvP fight, it's not too terribly difficult to recover from. Most players are only running around with gear that's worth about 1% of their net worth. So once you've been looted, all you have to do is head to the auction house, click a button, and it repurchases your previous loadout. The game features a pretty massive progression tree where the more you use something, the more you level it up and unlock things down that branch of the tree. Albion Online does feature an optional sub that will greatly reduce the grind.
Albion's incredible because it manages to be a really good mobile game while still maintaining being a good MMO.
The game's population has been steadily increasing since 2008.
What the bro, look at this graph, bro. Name another MMO that has an increasing population like this from Twitter. What the Lost Ark, not including bots.
Helping it climb up to the number 11 spot on the most played MMOs list. If you're looking for something different and high stakes that feels like a MOBA and an MMO merged into one beautiful creature,
it's got to be the mobile aspect of the game. Everybody has a phone. Not everyone has a PC. Mobile games are huge, man.
Albion Online might be a great choice for you. Next up, we have WoW Classic, seeing the largest population decline of all the MMOs on this list since the last time I updated it. This is partly because of how well it was doing 6 months ago when we checked in on it at the launch of Season of Discovery. It had experienced a massive
It was not just Season of Discovery, it was also Hardcore WoW. And like all of the creators that went to go play Hardcore WoW. Obviously, it will have declined since then, right?
Boom. Whereas now, the Classic community has largely experienced what they wanted to in Season of Discovery.
Old school RuneScape mobile. Wait, that guy just had a multi-billion-dollar idea. Why haven't they done that? Wait, what the Wait, if they put OSR, it exists? Okay, all right, okay. I didn't know it existed. Okay, we're good. All right.
Discovery, and they're waiting
for here. Bro, I don't play OSRS, man.
More and new content. Players tend to come back to WoW Classic and devour the content.
I hate that people have 4090s playing old school RuneScape. It's bullshit.
For a week or two before wandering off to play other games again. In March of 2017, Blizzard finally caved and announced that they would be making World of Warcraft Classic. World of Warcraft Classic launched to massive appeal, much to the surprise of Blizzard, who had thought
I'm thinking about playing WoW, but I would do hardcore.
There was no way players would ever want a classic server. It's impressive that a spin-off for a version of a 2-decade-old MMO sits this high on the list, and this isn't the only time you'll see that happen. World of Warcraft Classic was a return to WoW before its controversial additions like raid finders, excessive cash shops, and the WoW token. WoW Classic is the classic MMO experience through and through. Slower combat and a strict adherence to the trinity of tank, healer, and DPS.
What I don't like about WoW Classic, and this is going to sound petty, I don't like how it looks really old. I think that retail WoW actually looks like playably good. Like I'll play it. The thing that most repels me from WoW Classic is that it just looks really blocky. It didn't age well.
Players actually have to use crowd control abilities and still have to try to avoid aggroing too many mobs. It's going to be interesting to see how long this nostalgia-fueled trip through Classic WoW can maintain its steam,
Yeah, what
and
the fuck?
how many seasons it will be able to continue getting players.
Yeah, so what's going on with WoW Classic? Because we're just going to like catch up to retail after a while, and then they're just going to be making money on 2 games. They're geniuses
To return for.
They're
If we
actually
look at
just
the trends
geniuses.
for WoW Classic, we can see its explosive launch in 2019, followed by a moderate level of interest in the months and the
cat
years to
already, that's
follow.
insane.
Interest fell off heavily, but the addition of Season of Discovery was able to bring a lot of those players back. Season of Discovery interest has largely waned for now, and players seem to be just about done finishing up their Panda experience as well. Will we someday see WoW Classic take the route of old school RuneScape and carve its entirely own path, completely forking from the story of retail WoW? I don't think this is just
No. No, we will not. Old school RuneScape is run entirely by the community. Blizzard would never, Taylor Swift ever, allow their game to be run by the community like that. Community doesn't get any input. That's Blizzard.
a possibility. I think it's a necessity if they ever want to see players stick around for more than 2 weeks at a time. WoW Classic was number 4 on this list the last time
Really,
I made it, but
Velvet?
it slid all the way down to number 10 now. Its population is still impressive for a spin-off of an existing MMO.
How have we not seen BDO yet? Did we even make the list? Are we about to beat WoW Classic?
Oh, and further proof that there's a massive appetite for the classic MMO experience out there. Holding strong at number 9 is RuneScape. Also,
Are we gonna beat RuneScape? Well, this is mobile though. Wait, there is mobile. What the
known as
hell?
RuneScape 3, a fantasy MMORPG originally built with Java to be played
Wait,
inside of your
where's
browser.
BDO,
My
guys?
friends were playing this MMO on library computers all the way back in the early 2000s. Over 20 years later, this game is still outrageously popular. So let's take a look at it. RuneScape is interesting because
don't mind
there's
RuneScape mobile if
and
that's
then
the
there's
thing, yeah.
old school RuneScape. We'll get into old school RuneScape later. Right now, we're going to be talking about RuneScape, or RuneScape 3 as it's known. RuneScape was originally released all the way back in 2001 as a browser game, but that's largely changed. As of 2016, the browser version has been mostly replaced
I think RuneScape should just be a mobile game, man. At this point, what do you mean? Our phones can absolutely
with a
run it.
standalone client. RuneScape is a game where you can level anything by
Take old school RuneScape, give it a mobile port. $1 billion idea.
doing that thing.
It's the
Level
easiest
fishing
money
by
you've ever
fishing.
made in your
Level
life.
magic by using magic. It's a grindy MMO with a staggering 20 years of content to do. As much as RuneScape has evolved past its
Old school RuneScape is just on mobile now? Okay, well, there you go.
sibling, old school RuneScape, it's still very much the old school MMO experience in a lot of ways. Slow-paced fights, basic combat, and not so state-of-the-art graphics. RuneScape did add a WoW-like ability system and a very contentious cash shop as it aged,
God, the
leading to the birth
graphics
of its
are
younger,
just-
older sibling, old school RuneScape.
Bro, the graphics, even in the mobile version, are bad for a mobile game. Like, what is going
The pay-to-win
on?
nature of the RuneScape cash shop didn't go over well with the community, and
Like,
in a
Black
strange but
Desert
telling
Mobile
twist,
has
the
better
classic
graphics
version
than
of the
this.
game, without the same pay-to-win cash shop, has ended up with far more players than the modern version. If we look at the trend for RuneScape, you can see how insanely popular it was back in the mid-2000s. Absolutely massive.
Oh god, dude, it was like the biggest game, dude. Everyone would go to activity period. Everyone would go to like their free period. Everyone's playing old school.
If you were an MMO
It was
player and you
insane.
weren't playing
Breaking Lip, thanks for your Prime sub, but I appreciate you dropping it
WoW,
here.
there was a good chance you were dabbling in some RuneScape. RuneScape has lost a lot of players in the last decade, probably many of whom went to its sibling, old school RuneScape. Number 8, Guild Wars 2, launched in 2012
I am impressed that Black Desert has not been listed yet, considering the competition.
on PC. Guild Wars 2
We should be right after Guild Wars 2.
is rising 2 places on the list, from number 10
If
to
I
number
had to
8.
call it.
Guild Wars 2 had an explosive launch back in 2012 and has since been one of the most popular MMOs on the
We're
market.
better than Guild Wars 2.
is
We're a better game,
free-to-play MMORPG
objectively.
developed by ArenaNet and published by NCSoft. It's worth noting that since this was developed by ArenaNet, it won't feel like an NCSoft game. As MMOs go, Guild Wars does an excellent job of encouraging zone exploration and competition, and tried hard to break the mold of having players run from one yellow exclamation point to the next. And it largely succeeded in those efforts. If you try it out, you'll see what I mean. It's got a very unique questing
The only reason I ever hear people tell me to play Guild Wars 2 is because the mounts are really good. No one else really has, like, every once in a while there's like one guy that's like, yeah, the large scale PvP is super good. Okay. But that's about it. That's all I've ever heard. And so that's why I haven't actually tried Guild Wars 2.
experience.
Yeah, I bet it's fun. I have not tried it.
Guild Wars 2 features
Maybe
a
I
very
should.
generous free trial. The first 80 levels are free, and the game does not feature a sub, not even one of those quote-unquote optional subs. So when it says that you can play it for free, it means it. After the first 80 levels, there is a lot of great content to be had in the expansions, however, those will need to be purchased. And these expansions definitely house the best content in the game. It's here where you'll be able to interact with the game's amazing
How much money is Guild Wars 2 to buy? Like if is it like Destiny 2 where I have to spend like $800 to get like to the current expansion? Or is it like can I just like buy it once and have like all the new stuff? Like 100? 1 to 200 is fine. Bundles for 450. Okay, 450 is crazy, bro. 450 is insane. Is it 100 or is it 450? 100 to 150 is solid. We'll take that.
Lighting and mount systems, the Guild
$50 typo. Okay. Yeah, no, that's doable.
Wars has become so known
maybe
for.
I give this
they
a go.
did recently overhaul their new player experience.
Maybe I give this a go and give it like a review and stuff, like what I think.
For their Steam launch, which has allowed you to get access to the first mount in the game very early in the game, as opposed to waiting until you purchased the first expansion at level 80. This was a great change because it's very important for players to get a feel for what those mounts are going to be offering them down the road, and why they're so unique. The mounts in Guild Wars 2 are better than in any other MMO, and its lack of a rigid trinity of tank, healer, and DPS have made it a unique entry into the genre. The Guild Wars 2 main story quest is all entirely voice acted. Both your character and many of the characters that you interact with are voiced. This adds a lot to the story as you get to see and hear your character laugh and cry and go through all of the emotions.
$50 for all the expansions? Well, then how much is the game itself then? ESO on console is huge, so oh, that's ESO. This is Guild Wars 2.
The dialogue boxes are never able to convey. One of the most memorable parts of Guild Wars 2 is its world events, where upwards of 100 players group up to take down dragons the size of skyscrapers. These fights are truly a sight to behold, and it's...
Hey, if I do Guild Wars 2, can I do like large-scale raid content, or is it dead? Be honest. He's hyping it up. If I do Guild Wars 2, can I do like the large-scale raid stuff and actually have it be fun? Large scale is alive? Okay, so you tell me I should just get into the PvP scene. World versus world is still going on. Oh, well, I mean, I am a shot caller. Okay.
It's really cool to see that many people in the community all get together to take these things down. How is Guild Wars trending? Over the last 5 years, this 2012 MMO's population has been holding strong.
This is a good graph. This is a really good graph. I mean, look at guys, 2019 to 2024. It looks like it's slightly gained players. That's pretty good.
Wrong, if not growing a little. There are a couple of big things that are keeping this MMO from being more popular than it is, but the things that it does right, it does so incredibly well that it's worth checking out. Number 7, Elder Scrolls Online, released in 2004.
Okay, yeah, we're a better game than Elder Scrolls 2. I'm just gonna say it, so we should be number 6 then. This is pretty crazy. Beat it number 6.
On PC, Mac, Xbox, and PlayStation. Elder Scrolls Online has just dropped its well-received Gold Road expansion. This expansion added scribing and some great new rules.
ESO, from my understanding, I've never played ESO, which is another game that I'm looking at playing that game. This, Final Fantasy, Guild Wars 2, World of Warcraft, these are the games that I'm kind of looking at. ESO, my understanding is the action combat of ESO is like dog shit if you compare it to the action combat of BDO. It's not even comparably, like it's just bad. So the combat is just not there. The graphics are also not necessarily as good, but the story is like infinitely better. So like it has its like pros, it has its cons. It's not like, I would still say BDO has the edge, but like
rewards. Elder Scrolls Online is a beautiful theme park MMO set in the Elder Scrolls universe and takes place about 900.
Yeah, these graphics are totally
50
fun.
years before Skyrim, and features the trinity of tank, healer, and DPS. ESO has
that combat also looks good enough that I'll play it for sure,
as well as a ton of single-player content for you to enjoy. There are 3 tiers of difficulty for each type of content, allowing players to push themselves farther and farther. It definitely leans towards the casual MMO player and stands out as one of the more story-driven MMO experiences out there. Every quest, and I mean every single word of every single quest, is voice acted. ESO is buy to play with an optional sub, so if you want, you can pick up the base game and get hundreds of hours out of it. If you enjoy that, you can subscribe for $15 a month to unlock the other half of the game. Elder Scrolls Online features action combat, which is often a hate it or love it topic for players that try.
I think that everybody loves action combat as long as it's done correctly. I think the ESO, I mean, that combat actually didn't look super bad, but comparing it to, I can understand why people are upset with it.
this MMO out. If you're used
Like if you call that action combat and you put it next to BDO, it's like BDO at home.
to tab targeting MMOs of old, it's going to take a little bit of time and a lot of patience to get you.
But I still think that the ESO combat, that combat that I saw showcased right there, is better than basically every MMO I've seen so far. It looked like. Guild Wars 2 didn't look like it had that kind of combat. It didn't look like WoW Classic. Obviously, it's just ain't no way. Eve, well, I guess Eve's PvP is kind of crazy, but like it's not a comparable MMO.
Used to this game's combat. ESO is currently celebrating its 10-year anniversary and has been giving out amazing rewards, huge expansions, and will be capping it all off with its next expansion in 2025. So expect big things to come. If we look at ESO's chart, it seems to be maintaining its population pretty well, and the
this is a little rough, but like honestly, you expect this kind of a graph from an MMO. This is not that much of a decline. This is totally fine.
Population for the game is looking very healthy. But the best part about ESO is its mega servers, which prevent the population from being fragmented,
what about Rift?
which means
What do you mean by
won't
Rift?
have any problems finding other people to play with. Sitting here
It's
at number
worse than the
7,
trailer
it's
shows.
easily one of the biggest MMOs in the world, and unlike the next MMO on this list, it's not pay to win. Next up, sitting at
There's us. Wait! We beat Lost Ark! You're trash!
number 6,
Of course we beat Lost Ark.
we have Lost Ark, which is one of
We're number 5? We are number
the
5?
youngest MMOs on this list, and has recently seen its population size implode. In May, it had an average
Oh my god. Keep in mind, guys, that the majority of players that like, my understanding, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that Lost Ark has a tremendous amount of bots. They have a big bot issue in the game. To be trending this far down, that's pretty rough. That is pretty rough, bro.
current player base size of 55,000 players on at any one time.
They don't anymore? Okay, well, okay, all right. So if they don't have a botting problem anymore, then this is still rough, but it's not as bad as I thought. Yeah, 1.4 mil to 20K. Well, in fairness, this is like kind of when it launched in the West. So like it's, wait. What is this? What is 20 May, 27th of May, 3rd of June? Okay, so this is literally the last 3 months. Never mind. This is catastrophically bad. Holy shit. Bro, we complain about BDO like it's the end of days. We complain about BDO like it's the end of days. Guys, look at this shit, bro. The bot bandwave.
In June, that average has dropped down to 19,000 players. So it's effectively lost over half of its
I can see
player
that.
base in
I know
one
that's
month.
kind of a
It
meme,
looks like
but I
this
can see
young
that.
MMO is really starting to struggle. Still, it's holding on to the 6th slot on the list, so it's no slouch yet. Lost Ark is a free-to-play, top-down MMORPG that launched in the East in 2019 and finally here in the West in 2022. Lost Ark is Diablo meets Final Fantasy meets a Las Vegas casino. It has a cash shop and a gear progression
That was the best description of Lost Ark I have heard since the game came out.
system that will frequently remind you of its Eastern MMO roots. The game is absolutely pay to win, or if you prefer, we can call it pay for power, but to its credit, it is also one of the few major MMOs that you can choose to play for completely free. And I'm not talking...
Maybe I'm in the minority on this. I do not like the top-down. That's the primary thing keeping me away from Lost Ark. I don't like top-down games like that. I think the characters look beautiful. Everything else, like the end game looks really fun. Like this whole group content with like the raid bosses and stuff, amazing. Bro, the top-down is just, bro, I can't. Like, I just don't like it.
Talking about those MMOs you can try for free, you can legitimately access and play the entire game for free.
I might give it a go.
You have the patience
I still might give it a go. I don't know.
to push through the grind and the monetization that comes with it. There are more currencies than you can count, and your gear progression involves multiple layers of gambling said currencies. Despite its top-down view, it does feature dungeons and raids, and these are definitely some of the most popular content in the game. The ultimate goal in Lost Ark is to sail around the world, collect all of the things, and increase your character's power. The sailing is a lot of fun, especially early on when you first access it. Lost Ark's weaknesses are definitely going to be its pay-to-win monetization and the sheer number of bots that seem to infect it.
There it is.
Lost Ark's biggest strength is its combat, and a lot of the players will tell you that the combat is extremely satisfying. On top of that, the game has a wide variety of classes.
No, the combat is the second best in genre, in my opinion. Some could argue that Lost Ark has better combat than BDO. I would not say that that is the case, but its combat is very good. Its graphics are also incredible. It's a beautiful game. It's a beautiful game. Also, its raid content is probably best in genre. It's close to best in genre.
If more,
from what I understand, I have not tried endgame raid content in all of the MMOs, but from what I've seen from everything, Lost Arks looks arguably the best.
On the way, each with their own look and feel to make sure that anyone can find the right class for them. If we look at Lost Ark's trends, we can see the interest in Lost Ark exploded in 22 when it launched in the West, and then quickly.
That is the most okay, you always expect your graph to go down after you launch. You do not expect it to go back to 0. That's insane. Holy shit.
Dropped back down to reality after the initial hype.
What
it has fallen a long way since then, but still remains above some heavy hitters like Guild Wars 2 and ESO. Sitting at number 5 is Black Desert Online.
Hey, we're huge! We're huge, boys! Number 5.
Released in 2015 and is available on PlayStation, Xbox, Windows, iOS, and Android. Moving up one position from the last time I made this list is Black Desert Online. If you ask someone why they like BDO, they will almost certainly tell you that it's the combat, that and how beautiful the game is. BDO is
the game. We like how beautiful the game is. Certain aspects of the game are really, really good. We love how beautiful the game looks. Anyone that's looking at the elephant right now is a freak. I just want to point that out.
It was an open world game with very little in the way of instance content. You don't play BDO for dungeons and trials. You play BDO to kill things out in an open world, often for hours on end just to gain a few % of a level. BDO is very much a go out and grind type of game. It's also important to note that it's an always on PvP game. Once you hit 50, the PvP is on. Anyone can kill you at almost any time.
He's not technically wrong. He's not technically wrong, right? Like he's not technically wrong. It is that is how we like to sell it.
The more unique features of the game that makes it popular among PvP players. BDO has some pretty negative associations here in the West, thanks to its previous publisher making the game overly pay to win with some pretty heavy-handed monetization on top of that. But since the developer has parted ways with that publisher, they have undone a lot of the less popular aspects of its monetization, making it possibly worth looking into again.
Yeah, people always ask me how much pay to win is in BDO. Way less than most other games. If you want like an exact metric, I would say you can either spend $30 or grind for 1 hour. That's usually the metric I give people. You either spend $30 or grind for 1 hour. Most people, since upgrades are going to take you hundreds of hours, you can see how it's just not worth it to pay to win for 99% of players. It's just not doable. You just play the game, right? But like it is pay to win. But like its line for pay to win is, and they're monetizing differently lately. Lately, they've been adding things to the game like dancing emotes and stuff, which are not pay to win. You have to pay for them, but like they're just cosmetic, which I would prefer that they go in that direction in the future anyway.
Again, if you haven't recently, BDO features a ton of unique classes and continues to actively update the game. But how is the game's population trending as of late? The population seems to be holding on. In fact, BDO seems to have largely stopped the bleeding of its player base. If you're more of a
yeah, so this is, we do have a lot of new players to the PvP or to BDO right now. I don't know if we're still gaining players or not. How old is this video? 2 weeks ago. All right, so this is pretty recent. That's Google Charts. I don't know. It might not be as bad as we think. We're just seeing a shift away from PvP in a lot of cases for BDO.
PvE player, recent expansions have added a lot of questing and PvE content if you're into that sort of thing. Next up at number 4, Maple Story.
We're losing the Maple Story, bro. Crazy.
Available on PC. Almost like an indestructible cockroach surviving a nuclear blast, Maple Story climbs up to number 4 on this list.
Guys, they are scamming you. They have freely admitted to literally manipulating your RNG based on how much money you're spending on the game. Stop playing Maple Story. How is this possible? Oh my God.
After being caught lying to its players about drop rates for items they were spending real money to gamble for, it still sits here at number 4. MapleStory launched in 2003 in the East and 2005 in the West. This is another game that was a gateway into the MMO scene for a lot of modern.
The craziest thing is that they got fined. The craziest part about that story is MapleStory gets fined, right? Or NCSoft, right? That's who runs, who's MapleStory? It's NCSoft. They get fined, like, I don't know, a few $1 million, or Nexon, that's right, thank you, sorry. Nexon gets fined, like, what, a few $100,000, a few $1 million? Bro, they made tens of millions of dollars manipulating the RNG in these games. They get a slap on the wrist, and they gain players. What the fuck? Dude, what is going on?
MMO play.
We're literally living the Wolf of Wall Street.
It was immensely successful and still manages to stay relevant nearly 2 decades later. So far, the game has reached over 260 million registered users worldwide and grossed over $3 billion in lifetime revenue. To put that into perspective, the only MMO that comes close to having had that many people try it is World of Warcraft. It's got around 42 different classes for you to try and offers an incredibly unique and accessible experience. In other words, it runs on a toaster and it's got 2 decades worth of content, so there's plenty for you to do. How did the charts look? Well, here we see this 20-year-old MMO beating out modern staples in the genre.
What the is this projection? What is that? What do you mean? What is that? The like line? Bro, the trend on the line is literally flat to going down. And the projection is, yeah, but don't worry about it. It's going to be huge. This, bro. This is for stupid people that don't know how to read graphs. This is for dumb people that don't understand how to read graphs, who are going to look at that and go, oh, wow, super, oh, yeah. Crazy, bro.
BDO, and Guild Wars 2, which is pretty impressive for a 2-decade-old entry. Continuing to hold down the 3rd position is old school RuneScape.
I hate that this is the case. I hate that Black Desert and the other MMOs that have infinitely better graphics, better systems, better everything, is still losing to this game that I was playing when I was in high school. Out of here, man. You have a 4090 in your computer. Stop playing RuneScape.
Launched in 2013 and continued to climb in population size as if it was completely unaware that MMOs are supposed to become less popular with age. You can either play this game on any computer less than 20 years old or your phone. The system requirements are so low that this is probably the most accessible MMO out there, and I think it owes a lot of its success to that. On top of that, old school RuneScape is a game run by the players, with each significant change voted on by the player base. Old school RuneScape launched as a result of the community not loving some of the changes that were made to the game. Retail RuneScape added WoW-like
Bro, what if we got that for BDO? That shit would be crazy.
abilities and a cash shop that many accused of introducing pay to win to the game.
That would be
so the
crazy.
community begged the developers for the creation of old school RuneScape. Jagex finally agreed and created servers that were based on a 2007 version of the game. RuneScape does not have the player follow a linear storyline, but instead has the player choose their own.
The developers of RuneScape, they just shovel money into their Lamborghinis until it's full of money, and they have to shovel money into the next Lamborghini. The amount of money it takes to upkeep this game is zero. It's like literally zero. And millions of players still play. It's insane.
Own path through the game. Players can choose to kill monsters, go off questing, or level up one of their many different skills. Old school RuneScape is a make the numbers go up game. You skill up, you level up your crafting, your sword wielding, your fishing, anything that you can think of, you can level it up. And a lot of people love doing exactly that. RuneScape is a very sandboxy MMO that allows for a lot of AFK skilling, and thanks to its slow pace and incredibly low computer requirements, it's very accessible. It's got some pretty involved quests that would be near impossible to figure out without the help of add-ons and guides, and it is as old school as it gets, with a very clunky combat system and user interface. It will definitely take some patience and getting used to if you're going to be trying it for the first time in 20.
No one tries RuneScape for the first time, okay? Everyone is playing it because they used to play it in high school or middle school or whatever, okay? Like, that's what's remarkable about the game. It just has so many people that constantly just keep coming back to it.
2024. Old school RuneScape has been so successful that its active player count has now far eclipsed retail RuneScape and a lot of other MMOs for that matter. If we look at how the game is trended on Google, we can see its impressive growth.
What the is going, guys? How is this possible? Guys, stop. Guys, stop playing old school. What the man? It just won't die. It's like the goddamn Terminator, bro.
Over the years. By the numbers, it appears that old school RuneScape has held on to the 3rd spot, and at times it had even
Unlike Ashes of Never Being
passed
Created.
number 2. Pretty impressive for being born from a browser game that was released in 2001. You can dismiss its success and say that it's all bots, but once again, that would fail to explain its massive presence on Google Trends.
Yeah.
Number 2, and perhaps the most surprising upset on
What? WoW isn't number 1?
on this list is going to be the fact that World of Warcraft has been dethroned, though likely only temporarily. Sliding to number 2 is World of Warcraft. Most likely, a lot of WoW players are taking a break from WoW to play the MMO sitting at number 1 this month, before they return to WoW. The lead up to Dragonflight propelled WoW far above Final Fantasy XIV, and it held on to that spot until Final Fantasy XIV dropped its Dawn Trail.
I've never seen WoW not be the number 1 MMO. It doesn't matter if there's an expansion out or not. It doesn't matter.
Public opinion of World of Warcraft has massively improved since its self-inflicted wound that was Shadowlands. Now with Chris Metzen at the helm, the community...
I love the cope in my chat. Blizzard never releases its actual numbers to the player base. No one does. Get out of here. That cope.
He has high hopes for a return to form. With the first of 3 announced expansions releasing later this year, it's going to be a massive year for World of Warcraft, with some players clocking in nearly 20 years played. It's a testament to the massive appeal this game was able to garner. World of Warcraft is a massive, seamless MMO that still handles scale better than any other MMO I've played. You can see a location, a mountain,
WoW is literally dead.
multiple zones away, and get on your
Classic WoW's down like 8 positions. WoW's down a position. WoW's dead.
mount and fly there.
WoW is
This
just
is something
dead.
that a lot of MMOs created well after World of Warcraft are still unable to deliver on, thanks to them being broken down into smaller zones
it
with
came out, I
rampant
think.
load screens in between. WoW still looks great thanks to an art style that
played
has
this.
aged incredibly well over the years, and perhaps more importantly, numerous engine overhauls that have kept it feeling somewhat modern despite being 2 decades old. World of Warcraft features the trinity of tank, healer, and DPS, and has 13 unique classes, each with multiple different specs for you to spec into. There's a lot of single player content for you to level your way up with, as well as dungeons and raids. WoW's dungeons and raids are among the best out there, but be prepared to devote a good chunk of time to them, as they're quite a bit longer than in other MMOs.
Oh my god, who's
so
that?
what does interest in
Yo,
WoW
go
look
back.
like according to the trends? You can see on this graph how WoW absolutely dwarfs the competition in its prime back in the early 2000s.
Who's the red line? Oh my god. Insane. So the fact that we made the graph, guys. We made the chart, boys. We're the lowest on it, but we made the graph. Yeah, baby. We are on the graph.
Looking at its popularity from 2004 to 2012, nothing else even comes close. When we look at the last few years, WoW usually still sits at the number 1 spot.
He's using us to showcase how much better everyone else is, but we made the list, bro.
But Final Fantasy has reached a point where it's able to pass it during its expansion launches. This titan of the industry is still just that, a titan in the industry, but it's not the untouchable titan that it once was.
No
And
kidding.
number 1, Final Fantasy XIV, released in 2010, available on PlayStation,
Crazy.
PC, and Xbox. Right now, the most popular MMO in the world is Final Fantasy XIV. This game has earned this spot by devoting itself to improving the quality
dude.
of the content it released for 14 years.
Do you know the thing that keeps me from playing Final Fantasy? Because I really want to try it, because people say the story is really good. And that's in contrast to BDO, whose story is literally written by a 4-year-old with crayons. It's just that people told me that the story literally doesn't actually get good until you're like 20 hours into the quest line. Like, I don't want to have to quest for like 15 hours to get to the good part, man. Like,
years in a row, but perhaps just as important is the fact that it treats its community better than any other MMO out right now, and that mentality has clearly paid
100
dividends for
hours?
Square
100 hours to get to the good part of the story?
Enix. The new Dawn Trail expansion propelled Final Fantasy.
How am I supposed to put 37,000 hours into Black Desert if I gotta put 100 into Final Fantasy? What are we doing? You're asking me to quit the game altogether. It's ridiculous.
To the #1 spot, adding 2 new classes, a ton of new zones, and starting a brand new storyline after wrapping up the previous 10-year story during the Endwalker expansion. Final Fantasy XIV continues to be a story that gives hope to rocky MMO launches today. You can fix an imperfect MMO if you're willing to listen to the feedback of the community.
Just nuke your entire game and start over again.
And put the work in, but you have to resist the urge to over monetize your MMO. Final Fantasy XIV is a fantasy MMORPG that places a massive focus on the story. The single player story content comes first, and every piece of the game that follows is built in service to that end. The dungeons are unlocked as part of the story. The trials are unlocked and woven into the story. Some of the
I heard that the raid content in Final Fantasy is some of the best.
most memorable
I've never gotten to do
game
it. I've seen people do it. It looks pretty good.
Are delivered in the middle of a trial while you're fighting for your life. Final Fantasy XIV also features 22 different classes and the trinity of tank, healer, and DPS. Final Fantasy XIV has one of the most generous free trials out of any MMO, allowing you to play the first 70 levels and the first 2 expansions for completely free. After that,
yeah, but those suck though. You can have all of the content in our game that sucks for free. You guys just said I have to play for 100 hours. I have to play for 100 hours to get to the good content. Then we're going to give you the first 70 for free. What the
that you do have to buy the game and pay the mandatory
Destiny 2 model. Yeah, what the The first expansions are good? Okay, all right. Okay. I will take your word for it. This is one of the games. This is towards the top of my list as games that I am potentially playing next.
$13.
This Guild Wars 2 moved up like
subscription. Thanks to this mandatory sub, however, the game is free of pay to win. It's free of loot boxes, and it has hundreds of cosmetics and mounts that you can earn by playing the game. 2024 has been an incredible year for Final Fantasy XIV, but will it be able to hold on to the #1 spot? We'll check back in 6 months at the beginning of 2025 and find out when we update this list. If we look at how Final Fantasy XIV has been trending, it's been battling WoW for the top spot for the last few years, but with WoW's World Soul Saga around the corner, holding on to the #1 spot is going to be tough. We have seen
the fact that it can dethrone WoW at all shows you that the gap is just not there anymore.
Some massive upsets in 2024, with popular MMOs clawing their way to the top or sliding their way to the bottom. We've seen multiple MMOs drop stunning expansion like ESO's Gold Road and Final Fantasy XIV's Dawntrail, and arguably the biggest MMO expansion has yet to drop, with World of Warcraft's War Within expansion.
Oh, I was thinking he's talking about Crimson Desert. That's
coming out on August 26th. Did any of the results on this list surprise you? Let me know in the comments below.
Yeah,
which
basically
MMOs
the whole
do you
list
think are going to move up? Or
I love Lucky Ghost's videos. This video is really good. I love all of Lucky Ghost's videos. Here it is. He does this every so often to let us know how the genre is doing. There it is right there. Go interact with it. Wow, insane to see Final Fantasy up that huge like that is crazy. Absolutely insane.